Hello, everyone. This is Father Anicet Pinto, a Catholic priest in Vancouver. And today I'm going to talk about Trump's wall versus Pope Benedict's bridges. And it's quite interesting because walls have been essential even pre creation. There were definitely distinctions between uh, God and the angels, and there were certain things only God can go through all the walls. Um, Certainly, angels were were not gods. And oftentimes, I hear walls being given in a very negative light. They isolate, they separate. Um, but just as they have their negative aspects, they also have their positive aspects. They protect, they shelter, they make distinctions, and distinctions are important. And we are going to talk a little bit about that. But let's first look at a little video that I have here. Uh, it's Trump's. It's about Trump, and it's kind of an interesting video about his ability to state why he wanted the walls. So let's listen to it.
Even, believe it or not, it's not even a difficult thing to do. And by the way, for the people of New Hampshire, where you have a tremendous problem with heroin and drugs, you wouldn't even believe it. You see this place and you say it's so beautiful. You have a tremendous problem. The first thing always that they mention to me, Mr. Trump, please do something. The drugs, the heroin, it's pouring in, and it's so cheap because there's so much of it. And the kids are getting stuck, and other people are getting stuck. We're going to end it. We're going to end it. We're going to end it at the southern border. It's going to be over. And we're going to work, and we're going to work really hard to get them.
So you can see that already he's talking about protecting what's within, and separating that ability of what is evil from outside, to shelter the people of America, to distinguish between what is America and what is not America. It's not hard to understand why he would do this.
Those people that are so addicted off the habit.
Now it's a sad thing because so many people want their rights, their absolute freedoms, but we're not all free. We are not free to murder others. There are particular aspects that we're not free to take drugs or give drugs to those who uh, are unable to use them wisely. I go to the regular drugstore and I ask for a drug that needs a prescription. They're not going to give it to me unless I have the prescription.
We're going to work like hell to take care of the situation. It's a huge problem in New Hampshire. It's a huge problem
all over. It's really early in the stream that he actually talks about.
We're going to have strong, incredible borders.
What is
and
important.
People are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. They're going to come in legally. We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built.
And I don't see any problems with that. We all live within walls. We have 4 walls for our homes. We're able to stay outside the ability of attacks and such, because we live in 4 walls. We lock the doors. Nobody leaves their doors open so that someone might come in and do harm to the people within. And the same idea with this wall. Now, there was one priest that came in. It's kind of a funny story. We're having dinner, and he hated this aspect about building the wall. And I just asked him, you live within 4 walls. You have in fact, you have a wall on top too. We call it a roof, and it protects us. And you lock the doors, don't you? Yes, he lived in Buffalo. And I'm sure that he needed to lock the doors, or else people would come in and when in the middle of the night, and they would take the things that they wanted. Just it's just reasonable. Anyway, let's move on. I also want to show you something about the Bible. Um, what I found interesting about this is with regard to if you're going to be theological, you need to base it on something biblical, something we've been taught through the Bible, through God, through Jesus. And this is kind of interesting because if you look at the Bible, and I'm going to show you something here. I thought was quite interesting. Now, we look at this. This is Bible Gateway. It's a very useful tool to look through the Bible. Now, I'm using the Revised Standard Version because it's a more direct translation. It doesn't have a lot of the changes. It looks to the word and tries to change exactly from word to word. So let's look up wall and how many times it's in the Bible. Well, it's in the Bible 280 times, and topically it's in there 61. Some people will know some of the expressions from walls inside the Bible. For instance, there's the writing on the wall. And it's if you read the writing on the wall, kind of a prophetic announcement. And wall is interesting. Now, let's look at bridge. How many times is it in the Bible? 0. The Bible is in 0 times, topically 0 times as well. There is no bridge in the Bible. And I always thought this interesting because if you're going to form a a theology based on what we know of God, you look for words in the Bible that would give it to you. So this is why I was quite critical of Pope Francis when he said, instead of building walls, build bridges. Now, every pastor in the world knows that the most important part of his pastorship is to build walls and to sustain them. The walls of a church, the walls of a rectory, the walls of a school. These are the things that he spends almost his entire priesthood either trying to get the people to give money and offer and offerings to help build and sustain the walls, or to do other things, build new walls, build new churches, and the bishop is just as much a part of it as all of the priests. So I kind of find it interesting about this. Now, one of the things that I did find in the Bible was a passage where of Lazarus that's kind of interesting too. Probably not the Lazarus but let's take a look at that here. Let me see. Luke 16, that's the one. So we can click on that, and we can read the full chapter. This is interesting because no bridge is possible here. So here he goes. He said to his disciples, there was a rich man who had a steward, and charges were brought to him that this man was wasting his goods. No, that's not the one. Rich man and Lazarus, that's the one. There was a rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen, who feasted sumptuously every day. In his gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, full of sores, who desired to be fed with what fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. The poor man died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in Hades, being in torment, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus in his bosom. And he called out, Father Abraham, have mercy upon me, and send Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in anguish in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things. God gave him many blessings. And Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, in order that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from there to us. This is interesting. Here, no bridge will be built between the evil and the good. Bridges are not to be built between evil and good. But that's not today's world of globalism. In fact, so often people are told to be at ease with the evil within them, that that's a part of them, and that that's even a good. And that's not true. We're to always say no to sin and yes to what is good, no to what is bad. And he said, Then I beg you, Father, to send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they also come into this place of torment. But Abraham said, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent. He said to them, If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead. And the words of Moses and all the prophets are about avoiding evil and doing good. No bridge between them. All of them. There is not a Moses or a prophets, not one prophet, and not Jesus either, that says, oh, be good with what's within you that is evil, that is disordered. There is no bridge there. What is disordered should always be tried to be reconformed into goodness. It's quite interesting. And so let's go back, because now I want to do a couple of EFAPs on the Pope. So we'll remove this one and stop sharing that one. And now let's do the Pope. It's an interesting what the Pope says about Trump first from a plane. And so let's take a look at that. Because I always think this is an interesting one. Let's see. This was from the plane right after he heard about what Trump had said about building walls.
During a press conference with journalists on the plane, he addressed dozens of issues. They ranged from Donald.
And so he became very political, and he talks about this ability to become political. Hey, and that's true. Everybody lives in the politic, in the city. And that's what politics are about, the good order of cities. And every member of that society, of the city, is called to do what is good and right for the city.
Trump's proposal to stop immigration, to John Paul II's close friendship with the philosophy professor, child abuse.
See, here they talk about it simply as stopping immigration. Well, that's not true. The U.S. has a very good immigration that is legal. They don't They don't allow illegal immigration because that's just an open border. And an open border invites, just like an open wall invites the wrong kind to come in sometimes, or the wrong things to come in. Remember, we're called to be sheltered within walls.
Abuse and the Zika virus.
Una persona che pensa soltanto in fare muri,
A person who only thinks about building walls. Well, that's every bishop and every priest and every pastor throughout the world. They are thinking about building walls, walls between good and evil, the walls of a church, structures, schools.
sia dove sia, e non fare ponti non è cristiano.
So here I am. I'm thinking, if you do not focus on building bridges, it's not Christian. Well, I don't want no bridge between evil and good. There's no place for it. I want a wall between evil and good.
Questo non è nel Vangelo.
This is not the gospel. In regards to voting and not voting, I will not get involved. Well, you're supposed to get involved in speaking what is good, what is right, what the church has always taught, including Christ himself, God, throughout the Bible. Read it. Walls are in there so many times.
Poi quello che mi diceva cosa consiglierebbe votare o non votare, non mi mischio, soltanto dico questo.
I'm just saying that this man that is saying this is not a Christian. Well, that's quite something, because I've always heard that Trump is a Christian. He believes in God. He believes in Jesus Christ, that's salvation.
L'uomo non è cristiano. Si dice questo così.
If he said these things, well, what happens with all of the bishops and all of the pastors and all of the priests who want to build walls? The walls I've spoken about.
Bisogna vedere se gli ha detto così le cose, no?
Until then, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. You just condemned him, not being Christian.
E questo
So that's the first one. And I'm going to take a look at another one. Because it's an interesting thing what he's presenting. Now he's going to do something very strange here that I caught, and I do think it's something that we have to really look at. This is only 49 seconds long. It starts, father of lies. That's Satan is the father of lies. I'll put it up a little bit higher, maybe a lot higher.
Tira el demonio.
The devil, yes.
Siempre
Satan.
prefiere un pueblo dividido.
No, he doesn't. He does not want a divided people. He wants them all united with him. He wants to build bridges between evil and good.
Y peleado.
At odds with each other. Well, that's true. He wants them at odds with each other. He wants evil to be at odds with good because he wants them to be tempted and then fall into, bridged over into the evil.
Es el maestro de la división.
He's a master of division,
Y
yes,
le tiene
between
miedo
people.
a un
And
pueblo
he's
que
afraid of
aprende
all,
a
right?
trabajar juntos.
Well, not everybody who works together works for good, for the common good. So many work against other people. They take on evil because they have not built walls against it.
Y este es un criterio para distinguir a la gente. Los constructores de puentes y los constructores de muros. Esos constructores de muros.
Those that build walls that sow fear. A wall doesn't sow, well, I'm scared of what's outside that wall that might come in and hurt or injure.
Que sembrando miedos buscan.
That's why we build those walls, to keep ourselves divided from what might harm us, to keep us sheltered, not boxed in, but sheltered until we can go out and do the good.
Dividir y abroquelear a la gente. Ustedes quieren ser constructores de puentes. ¿Qué quieren ser?
Constructors of bridges. Well, I don't think that's a good thing. It's quite something what he says. Anyway, I'm going to have a little bit of fun now with something else that I saw with regard to the Pope. It's actually quite frightening, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun with it, though. And so let's share another one. Share another screen here, because I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, well, it's actually bad, but there is a kind of a funniness in it. All right. Now let's take a look at this. Actually, let's remove this one and do a different one. It's a little bit bigger. We'll find the bigger one here. Let's see. This one is quite interesting. It's the Pachamama. He's the Pachamama Pope. And this is kind of interesting because you see all of these bishops, priests, cardinals, and the Pope himself praying before the Pachamama. And I find it fascinating because the Pachamama is a pagan goddess. She is a fertility goddess from South America. And they brought it and they placed it inside the Vatican. He is praying to the Pachamama. And so let's have a little bit of fun here. And you want to clip this? That'll be fine too. I think it's kind of funny. Here's a little ditty. Oh, Pachamama Pope, oh, Pachamama Pope, Pope Francis is Pachamama Pope. Pachamama's what he has. Christianity he once had. Oh, Pachamama Pope, oh, Pachamama Pope, Pope Francis is Pachamama Pope. Let's do one more. Oh, pagan worship Pope, oh, pagan worship Pope, Pope Francis is the pagan worship Pope. Pagan worship's what he did. Latin Mass he did forbid. Verboten, not allowed, forbidden. Oh, pagan worship Pope, oh, pagan worship Pope, Pope Francis is the pagan worship Pope. There you go. I thought that would be a funny way to kind of end the stream. If you're on YouTube, please do subscribe and add your comments. And I'd very much like you to ring that bell and await future telecasts. I'm going to try and be here every morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and hopefully I'll see you here. Remember, I'm Father Anicet Pinto, Quo Vadis, and this is a little bit of fun that I'm having between Trump, Pope, and some theology and other things. We'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.